Let's finally talk about Masters of the Universe Revelation. And just to get this out
Yeah.
of the way, guys, this is not He-Man and the Masters of the Universe Revelation, right? So we just kind
Mhm.
of sell ourselves out a little bit here. So Ricardo, if you don't mind, I just want you to do the synopsis for this one, but I'll begin by saying just a couple things, right? So for one, I am not the biggest fan of He-Man, right? Of the
Right.
franchise itself. I literally grew up on the character like when I was
Right.
like what 4 or 5 years old, and we only had
Right.
one station on TV. I remember this shit being on TV. I watched it. I remember She was there. I watched it, but like many 80s shows, I never got back into them. I never recapped them. Um, when it comes to 90s shows now, like say Batman, the animated series, or
Right.
SWAT Cats, or Freakazoid, you know what I mean, or Gargoyles, I will go back to those, right? Because I have a much richer history seeing those shows, right? Especially with syndication there. But He-Man was just never something that I got back into. But because of
Right.
how popular he was in pop culture, it was just like, well, yeah, I kind of get the gist. I know who He-Man is, and I know who She-Ra, I know who Skeletor is, and whatnot. But clearly after the success of She-Ra, the Princesses of Power, which I saw after the fact and thoroughly enjoyed actually. It
Yeah.
was only a matter of time that we until we got this one right. But what I thought going
Right.
in, as soon as you heard Kevin Smith was going to do his He-Man, right? I thought that this was going to be a continuation of She-Ra. That it was going to have the same animation style, same sort of TV Y714 audience, that kind of thing. Gen Z audience, basically. I thought it was going to be like that now, but actually, when the first trailer dropped, it's like, well, sorry, when the first animation stills come out, it's like, no, this is very well going to be like the original series. And when we talk about the original, we mean like the 85, 86 show, right?
Right.
Um, or I should say 83 to 85 or however long that show ran for, right? So it's like, okay, okay. So it's like this continuation of that. All right, cool. Then when the trailer drop, jaws on the floor, music, the visuals, hearing Mark Hamill play Skeletor, hearing Chris Wood say, I have the power. I was like, what? I mean, everything was just clicking, right? So we just
Right.
couldn't wait until this show came out, right? But I was hearing through the grapevine now that, people like, there's rumblings in social media that this is not going to be the He-Man show that you expect. It's going to be totally different. It's going to be more woke because it's 2021, y'all, and all that kind of stuff. But I was like, look, it's a He-Man show. It's based off of a 80s show. You all deal with it, right? Like, again, I am not a hardcore fan of the show. I don't have He-Man toys. I've never had a He-Man toy. I've had like a shitty, Chinese ripoff that I got for
Right.
Christmas, right? That's the closest I got, right? Whatever. So I am not emotionally invested in this property, right? So I was like, all right, let me just wait for Revelation to come out and we'll see. And last thing I'll say before we get to your quick history in He-Man and the synopsis is the reception afterwards, because right now currently it has a 94% fresh rating on Rotten Tomatoes and a 30% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes, right? And there have been
Right.
videos since this half of a season ago. We only got 5 episodes, right? Dropped yesterday, of people saying, Kevin Smith lied to the fans, and Kevin Smith's a fucking
Right.
liar, and he lied because it's not about He-Man, it's not about him. How can you
And
do this, Kevin Smith? And I just like fascinated by all of this, to like, wow, this is how deep this fandom is, though. But
yeah, no.
I could
No.
understand, though, given how this show plays out, why people will be kicking up a fuss online. But anyway,
Yes.
Ricardo,
Yeah. So
your
that's a quick
relationship with
comment.
He-Man and then jump to Revelation. Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those things that just kind of come before my time. I have no working memory of He-Man. Like, I know the show, I kind of see it sometimes, but I don't have a working memory of it really. It's okay, it's fine, but like I never really love it to be honest. It had other shows that was cooler than it was that never took off marketable wise. I was more of a G.I. Joe Transformers person. Personally, Thunder the Barbarian was always cooler to me than He-Man, whatever.
Right, right.
But yeah, it's a franchise that just kind of it had staying power, right? They had the 90s He-Man, which was utter filth, terrible. But then
Horrible.
they had
Horrible.
yeah, but then they had the early 2000s He-Man, which was solid. Really, really good show
Yeah.
actually, to be honest.
And
Uh,
it's only like recently I learned because I honestly haven't seen it. I saw pieces of it basically, but I didn't know it was
right.
canceled after one
Yeah,
season.
yeah.
Oh, that real
Yeah,
sad.
but much like with the Thundercat show, it didn't get much of a shake, to be honest. People like to say they're watching it, but then they don't actually watch it. And people had much less of an excuse back then because not like the internet took off then. This was what 2002. Anyway, whatever. Then this new show came out, and I was like, all right, it's Kevin Smith. I want to see what he's gonna do with it. I'm excited for it. I knew that he had to have a good follow up to the Shira Princesses of Power thing. I didn't expect a direct continuity, but I expected something workable in the story. And then when I saw the actual trailer, I was like, okay, they're doing the Castlevania thing where it's all about emotions and they had to take people seriously and it's an arc and whatever it is. And yeah, that's
Oh,
kind of
and
what
by
we
the way,
get.
it's the same animation studio,
Same
Powerhouse as
animation
well.
studio.
Yeah.
Yeah, same animation studio. It looking good. It is what it is. And yeah, that's in the show itself. I think it's okay. Right. I have my problems with it, and I'm gonna explain what those problems are. But yeah, as the
Yeah.
show
Well,
itself,
what is it about in a nutshell? In a
right.
nutshell, what
So
this is
what
about?
what happens? What happens is that it starts off with Skeletor directly attacking Castle Grayskull, He-Man and his crew because it follows more or less directly from the 80s show. So He-Man has the full sword of power. It's not like two of them sharing the sword or anything like that. And he Skeletor decides to directly attack the um, Castle Grayskull. You learn a secret about Castle Grayskull, which it's not really Castle Grayskull, but you learn why it's called Castle Grayskull a little later. And then basically Skeletor destroys. I forget what it is, the orb of might or whatever it is. I forget the actual, MacGuffin.
Yeah, I
And
forgot to be honest.
anyway, but
Yeah.
it basically destroys it with a be this very dangerous explosion that would probably destroy the whole planet or something along those lines. And He-Man decides to split the sword of power and then siphon it off, and he's destroyed. Also, Skeletor is destroyed as well. That's it. That's like the big thing in the first episode. Like, holy shit, they actually kill off the main character as we understand him. And then they switch to Tila, right? And she's the kind of the locus of the storyline. In the second episode and the third episode, they focus on her. You learn the aftermath of it, and they kind of focus on her arc of having to basically revitalize the world because of Skeletor's actions. There's no magic in the world anymore. Well, at least magic is running out, so it's very scarce, and it kind of end up messing up the world. And then technology kind of reigning supreme, and that is how a lot of the fighting and the combat and the main arc is about. And they resolve that arc within 5 episodes, which I like because it's even though all the usual idiots who don't actually watch this stuff, but they just know how to outrage and fake outrage and make a claim. It's not the Tila show, right? It focuses a couple episodes on Tila. We get a little bit of that, but it's not the Tila show, right? So that's it. It comes back full circle. It comes back, and we get what happens at the end of the fifth episode is awesome. I love it personally.
Me
Um,
too. Me
but
too.
but
It will.
yeah,
It caught
yeah,
us by surprise. I believe me.
it
It will
it,
keep.
it, it, it
It will
yeah,
catch you by surprise too.
yeah, I thought it was great. But it works for what it is, and because it's not a whole season, it's the first half. I was like, yeah, this makes sense for 5 episodes. Like at the fifth episode, I expect some shit like that to happen, and that's what happens. They focus a little bit on Tila. It's not the Tila show. Cut the shit, please. And it just does what it has to do in terms of the story, and it makes sense. Now, this is where I'm gonna get to my problems. This is my problems with it. Some of the pacing is kind of bad, right? I I felt a lot of the emotional beats. It's not that it rushed too much, but it's more hurried. Like so, it gets from point A to point B a little too quickly, and I feel a lot of those emotional beats don't feel earned. And even though I don't think Tina is the worst thing to ever worse, like some idiots on the internet will say, um, her indignation is not earned at all. Like her being angry is just kind of ridiculous to be honest. I kind of really kind of hated her or why she was angry. I get it, but it's totally like unwarranted given the situation, in my opinion, right? Given the situation, feels completely unwarranted. That's how I felt about the Tila character. She's okay. She's not that interesting ultimately. Her whole bag is just being outraged because of what happens at the end of the first episode. And then she kind of just, it sticks to her. And I was like, yeah, you can kind of let this go, right? Like at a certain point, it's get a little ridiculous in my opinion. But whatever, it's fine. I dug it for what it was. And it's good action, decent characterization, but I felt it needed more connective tissue. to have it, feel earned. Why are these characters doing what they're doing? Like they make us care about all these characters, and they put in way more depth than the old 80s show. But I felt they could have just give us a little more connected to have it earn a little better. Because all these episodes are real short, and it's only 5 episodes. So I get it. And it had one continuity problem I had with it, which didn't really make sense to me. I don't know how that happened, but everything else was fine by me. And again, because at the end of the 5th episode, it's pretty damn awesome. I love that. It led to that. It's pretty awesome. Again, little complaints about, hey, if you do this, other characters should be like doing action to make sense of it and do something that should make a little more sense of the situation. But other than that, it's not a problem. It's still an 80s cartoon. It still feels like He-Man. It's fine. That's how I feel about it, as it is. Here's our first half of the season. It didn't wrap up yet. So good.
Right. I agree with you, man.
It's a Castlevania problem. It's the same thing, right?
Yeah. All right. Well, for me, I understand. I agree with you for the most part, right? For me though, where like if I have like gripes though, I felt like the dialogue was wasn't the best written, I would say, but at times it feels like intentional because it's He-Man, guys.
Exactly,
it's an 80s show, so we have to talk this way because it's like an 80s show, man. And at times it just kind of come off like, all right, but this is just some terrible writing though. That's just dialogue. That's what I mean, dialogue.
Because it doesn't skew as young as the Shira show, but it still skews pretty young, and it skewed a lot younger than I expected. Because I was expecting Castlevania, and it's not that. It's really skewing a lot younger than Castlevania. So that's why I didn't have a problem with any of that. It's like, okay, who this for? Okay, I know who this for. Fine, it works.
Right. Also too, I do agree with you with Tila's character. Her just being so pissed off at a character. We're not gonna say who or why, but it was just like, well, really, like that's it though.
Yeah.
Like, of all the big reasons though, because it like they'll try to make it off like, well, this was something that she should have known ever in the original series, but it didn't feel like it had that much weight though. It's just like, well, wait,
exactly.
you now realize that, really?
No, but that's not the issue. My issue is that given the time frame involved, because I'm not sure how much time passed between the first episode and the second episode, but it feels like a long time. Like it feels at least 75 years or something like that, because the world changed a lot. And then one of the characters mentioned my grandfather as if it's a stuff of legend. I think, wait, what? How much time passed exactly? Right? It was kind of confusing to me now. So I was like, wait, after all that time, you can't forget that, like that's real time, though. Like that was my problem. And then the other character, I thought she was interesting. I think Adrana, I forget her name exactly.
Andra,
yeah. I thought she was a great character, and she was interesting. Like her context. Like I felt the story probably should have focused on her more. So you're like, oh, she's the audience surrogate learning about this stuff, but we don't really get that. It's like, oh, it's just Tila's story, and then it's about her relation to Man at Arms and all of that stuff, right? Man at Arms was pretty awesome. Thought he was great in this. Right,
and it's voiced by Liam Cunningham. So glad to see a Gabe Trude's character actor alongside Lena Headey, who is in it as well too. Who, by the way, was pitch perfect though as evil-lyn. It's like it's a match made in heaven. Like
that's evil-lyn. Mark Hamill was good as Skeletor. He still sounded a little too much like Joker.
That's what I was about to say. He still sounds like Mark Hamill Joker, right? He does sound like, too much like cackling Skeletor, hammy Skeletor from the series,
Exactly. So, but I don't have a problem with that. Especially when you learn what happens with Skeletor at the end. I thought that was all right. That's fine. Like where it goes, and that's not going to be the thing. He-Man himself was pretty good. I liked his voice actor. I like his arc, like what they did with him, and then when you find out about the other champions, and you understand, you find out why it's called Grayskull, and I actually like that when they reveal who that was. I was like, yeah, that's pretty awesome. There's one great episode I genuinely love. That's the episode where they went to the underworld, where the hell.
That is one of my favorite episodes. Yeah, that is my favorite episode as well. Yeah,
great episode because
the antagonist though, for that, as familiar as he looked, I was like, yeah, I love this. I love this.
Scareglow's design, Scareglow.
Yeah.
I was like, holy shit, they actually make Scareglow look amazing though. It's like one of my favorite design stroke. Yeah, great character design. But they actually make it give a shit about fucking Awkward. What the hell?
I know, right? Awkward. The character is like, oh, we just have to have the goofy character because the 80s cartoon. They gave him a purpose too.
Right.
And one
Quick
thing though,
question:
like
who voiced Scarecrow?
oh gosh, I have any tip on my mind? I don't know.
Oh, is
Oh,
it is that
it's Tony Todd.
Tony Todd?
It's
Right,
Tony
that was
Todd.
it.
Yep.
Yeah, that was
Yep.
it. I was like, okay, yeah, that not Tony Todd. Trying to take my hot minute. I didn't read the credits after. I just skipped the next episode now. Like,
Oh,
okay,
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 okay.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, as I say, good music. Bear McCary, can't go wrong with Bear
Oh, yeah,
McCary.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Bear
Top guest.
McCreary
Yeah,
just did his thing. He did his damn
yeah,
thing with that. Yeah.
yeah. Top stuff. I dug it for it was. Yeah, I had no issues with it. Ignore the usual idiots who just piling on in the internet. They as usual it's just performative outrage that I have zero patience for. This
All
is
right.
fine.
I'll end off the review with my thoughts on that. But one.
Right, yeah, yeah. I've almost no patience with that kind of performative outrage. It's fine. It does what it has to do. The Again, it's a first half of a season, so it just tells a decent arc. The biggest problem I have with it is just the pacing. I felt they could have paced it out a little better and dropped those emotional beats a little better, for what it is. But yeah, I dug the hell out of this for what it is. It's fine. It's fine. It's solid. It's fine.
All right. Yeah, well, I agree with you. It's fine for what it is. I mean, again, not emotionally invested in this property, but for what it is though, as far as like a as an update and a continuation of the series, I think it's as good as it could be, in my opinion. I mean, and I've seen this because again, I'm not like the biggest fan, so I can't pick this show and be like, well, this is what Prince Adam should be doing years after
No.
the last series ended. Like, no,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna do that. And the choices that they may do in terms of where our main characters go. That would be like He-Man, Skeletor, Teela, well, Duncan, aka
Right.
Man at Arms. I thought was smart though. Like just it's just clever progression as far as the characters go. Like
Right.
they can't be the same characters that they were back in the 80s. I mean, come on though, they can't do that, right? I was surprised by the emphasis on like certain side tier characters like Orko, also Roboto, who was played by Justin Long. I was like, what?
Right.
You
Right.
you
Right.
were
Right.
just
Right. Right.
you were just right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Um, and admittedly, because I just kind of know them as characters and don't know anything about them lore wise, I just kind of treated the emotional moments, focus on them. I just treated as, all right, well, it kind of has to be this way because it's such beloved characters, especially Orca, right? So I'm not gonna be like rolling my eyes like, oh gosh, nobody cares, man. You know what I mean? But you know what they did with those with those characters were really great as well. I do agree with you. There are some pacing issues. I guess this is like a Netflix animated series thing that's not
Right.
non-comedy thing. You know what I mean? So you have to have the dramatic moments, and that scene you can't have it. But sometimes they have this sort of odd piece, like you
Yeah.
could be going through the motions, and then all of a sudden you'll just suddenly stop and have some moment of clarity or whatnot, just out of the blue. And this kind of happens ever so often, right? The voice acting was top notch throughout. Though Lena Headey, sorry, I thought that she killed it as evil-lyn though. Sarah Michelle Gellar, she plays Tila.
Yeah. Right.
She
Right.
was
Yeah.
good. She was good.
Fine. Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Good.
everybody did the thing, man. Mark Hamill still had the Joker voice, unfortunately, with Skeletor. But I like when he was on. You could tell, like you could tell, like when every time he delivered his lines, he was just having a blast. Too. Even oh gosh, this guy Dread, who voiced Batman, Kevin Conroy, he make an
Right.
appearance too, and it's just like, yeah, I know the character, but at the same time,
Kevin Conroy.
it's he played Merman.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, but it's still like, yeah, it's still Batman, though. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
was glad to hear Kevin Michael Richardson, who played one of my
Right.
favorite characters, Beastman. You know what I mean?
Please
So
no. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, it
Right.
was just like, and it's just like all these characters that you kind of forget were in the series and were toys initially, like Stinkor and Mossman, all that kind of stuff. I
Right.
love when the show this kind of treats it as well. In this world, their characters. And they're like, like you have a character called Stinkor, that's stupid. Or, the show kind of acts like, okay, well, we weren't really thinking straight back in the 80s. But no. They know, they are aware of the fan base. It's like, all right, Stinkor is here because he's a character in this world. And I particularly like what they did with him and the character of Triclops. They
Right.
had this
Yeah. Yeah.
weird sort of
I dug that.
robot culting,
Right.
cyber
Yeah.
cult kind of thing. Yeah.
I thought that was pretty cool with Trapjaw and
Yeah,
uh
Trapjaw, yeah.
yeah
And
with
um and
Trapjaw
and, and Triclops.
yeah. That
Yeah,
was an interesting premise. Like, oh,
yeah.
you're super paranoid about thing, and then all of them just dragging Skeletor, from beyond the grave, right? It says, yeah, you're just kind of incompetent and an asshole.
Yeah,
Makes sense.
and I
Yeah,
like
like
that.
yeah,
I like how characters talk about the leads themselves. Well, He-Man was just this teenager who just dropped these one-liners, even though he
right,
looked tough, right? And Skeletor was just incompetent, even though he had all these like big world dominating plans or whatever it is, like ruling, you know, acquiring the sword and taking over Castle Grayskull and all that good stuff, right? Animation I thought was solid for the most part, though. No, half-assed animated moments at all. You know what I mean? And the story itself, while it did take its while to move, I dug where it was going. You know what I mean? I dug, the stuff that was taking place, and how it, even though the whole thing with He-Man, which I'll get into before I get to the written now. I like that it was still about him, even though at times he wasn't there in his presence wasn't there basically, but it was still about the legacy and what he really meant. And I thought that was a really smart call. And in kind of terms of just seeing, yes, you can look at the ET show and be like, okay, was this just some dumb way to sell toys, but we're gonna really make you understand, oh yes, because of what happened to him, and oh, this is why he was relevant, and this is why you should care, right? So I dug the emphasis on why these characters matter, even right now to Skeletor too, right? So the finale itself, though, what they do with that, though, caught me completely by surprise. As I said, though, I think it was awesome. It was bold. And one thing about this show, though, is that it's not like adult oriented, though. Like like teens could still kind of watch. This is more like a 14 up or whatever it is, rating or 13
right,
up. But there's still some particularly dark moments, so and that in particular was dark. And I have to give credit where credit is due for like just having the balls to do it. And again, you know what I mean? As I said, this is just the first half, though. So wait it out and see what the next, how things play out afterwards, right? Which leads to my big talk now. Sorry, I'll not even big. Just small talk now about the controversy, right? About the lack. Well, basically, the whole controversy is the Tila show. He-Man's barely in the show, man. How could you
right.
deceive us, Kevin James? How could you do this? Sorry, Kevin Smith. Oops, I said Kevin James. That's wow, right? Yeah,
Okay.
how could you do this, Smith? Why? Look, yes, I could see the fanboyism in this show, right? Especially from Smith. He doesn't shy away from that. He's a fanboy, right? He
Yeah,
will
yeah,
throw all these deep cuts and all these kind of things. They could tell like he is passionate about this. He's not just doing this because he grew up or he was like like a kid or a teenager when that shit was big, right? He's clearly passionate about it, right? Now I don't know all the full details as to what it is he say, but I felt like the whole decision about having a lack of He-Man, so to speak, it's just kind of narratively to the show, yeah, why the world needs He-Man, or why should we still care
yeah,
about He-Man?
exactly.
It's not perfectly executed, I would say that. Like, I would admit there were moments where I was like, well, still, He-Man could have come in here though, but I'll attribute that to peace and really. Like, I felt like
Right,
when he comes back, so to speak, that should have been a little sooner, not when it happens, not literally on the end of the mid, the half now. You know what I mean? I felt like it could have happened a little earlier, right? Just to be, if I had to be honest, right? But
right.
this whole thing like is the Tila show, and why you have characters talking about, oh, I don't need man, like why you have evil-lyn talking about, oh, I never needed Skeletor, man, and you know what I mean, and oh gosh, so I don't want to get pissed off, so one of the minor issues with the show that I have a feeling people are gonna blow up even more over the next few days though is the queer beating between Tila and Androna,
Okay.
because
I
I
again,
admit like the
I did.
first time I see them I was like, all right, they oh, because there's like just like a blink and you miss it moment where it's like, okay, maybe there could be a couple, but afterwards it's just like
Yeah, the
the
only problem with that.
besties. They're just besties. That's how I saw it.
Yeah, no, yeah, exactly. But my thing is that they say that, and I suppose it's there if you want to look for it. But like they didn't have like Evelyn and thing wasn't talking about their man and you have a man in your life and all that bullshit. So like, all right, well, yeah, she had the kind of weird haircut, whatever it is, the shave haircut on the side. But like, I didn't read it as that. I mean, if you want to read it as that, fine. But I didn't see it. However,
Yeah. I picked up on his shaved haircut to the back with Tila and all too, but still I was like, well, oh gosh, man. So just because you see that you wanted this, automatically label her as a lesbian. You're like, again, I don't know,
Right.
right? I'm not invested, right? Not invested in material.
No, here's the problem with that. Is that here's the problem. Is that people like to jump to coding. So they like to immediately think, oh, this is coding. And look, coding is a thing in visual language. I totally understand why you would do it or not do it in some story, but you don't have to do it. A simple example, even though it's not the best example because people like real bullshit this thing too. Mass Effect Andromeda. It have a character, a female character, who was quote unquote queer coded the entire time, and then you realize, no, the character's straight. It's fine. It's not a twist. They didn't play it like a twist or anything like that. It's just the audience had an expectation, and then that's it. That's how I saw it. You know, it's whatever.
Right.
You don't have to
Yeah.
overdo it. But the problem is that people so thirsty and have this weird shipping culture on the internet. That's what kind of killed that now. Yeah, whatever. Moving on.
Yeah, exactly. And it has to be about He-Man, man. And like even the show itself smartly kind of calls itself out on its own bullshit though. So you have like literally a flashback scene, which from what I could tell is very reminiscent of how the old show was. You know what I mean? Right down to the one-liners and all that kind of stuff, and the goofy humor and all that kind of stuff now. And I was
Right.
like, all right, that makes sense. They kind of poking fun at itself and showing how it is now, right? So I'm just gonna say something here and then we wrap up, right? So if you want to get mad at me for that, fine. But again, I am not emotionally invested in this, right? Look, if you love this property, props to you, right? Much love, right? But that was a product of its time. That was in the 80s,
Yeah.
right? So for you now to see in 2020, right, when the announcement, I believe it was either 2020 or 2019, when the announcement came out that we're gonna get this He-Man show, right, on Netflix from Kevin Smith.
Right.
In your head, right, it's not going to be exactly like how it would have been in the past, right? And that's not to say that people like diehard fans aren't gonna expect that, fine, right? But they have to make certain changes, right? So, okay, you don't like the fact that we didn't see enough of He-Man and all that kind of stuff, but it's not like the show like flat out forgets about him. Like it kind of again shows his legacy and what he means now. So when he
It's
comes
three
back, so to speak, it
episodes.
makes sense. Right, again, and then
It's like
well,
three
5 episodes,
episodes.
yeah.
No,
Well,
what I'm trying to say, no, the time in which you wasn't seeing him.
right. Well,
It's
yeah,
like 2 or 3 episodes. Like who gives a shit? Like they're acting as if the man out to the show entirely. Like
exactly. Yeah,
what? Yeah, who cares? It's like
yeah,
it's telling a story.
yeah.
It
And
made sense in terms of the arc. Whatever.
right, and then no, again, this is just the first half of the season.
Thank
Now,
you.
if the second season comes out now and you see, less of He-Man again, okay, now I can come and say, all right, well, what it is all they're doing here? But this is just the first half, guys. Calm down, calm down.
Exactly.
Are you
That's why
that so invested? Okay. So one thing is, so two things was here, right? So one, is it that all is so invested in this character of He-Man Dread that any change done to it, any logistic change done to help progress the story, whether you like it or not, Dread, like any decision to just do things like that will just trip all you off. Like, no, it must be like the way it must be. You know what I mean? Like we can't do anything different. Like I wouldn't be surprised if they're the same people who are flipping out because Shira didn't look the way how she did
thank you.
from the
It's the
old
same
series,
bullshit.
right? Right.
It's the same. That's why I noticed it's the same bullshit and the same idiots making the same argument. So I don't understand if you still at this point if you're still taking these people seriously in that thing, you're kind of long gone at this point. Like to me, that whole situation was so ridiculous. I think that's kind of expose these people as, in my opinion, complete idiots. I don't have to take on it, but the complaint is not a complaint. I've read a couple things and I was like, wait, this is what they complain about. And this before the show come out, I didn't see it yet. And when I watch the show, it's like, oh, that's what they're bitching about. Like this is performative outrage, right? They
Yeah.
need to have videos to have clicks, and they have to get the clicks, and they have to talk about the thing. And then these are the same people who don't watch the thing out. Like I see somebody in some of the threads I see somewhere where the man thinking, and then I'm like, wait, where they actually check a couple comments down, he didn't watch the whole thing. He just watched like 2 episodes and turned it off. I'm like, yeah, go away. Like
Wow.
you're not really relevant to the conversation when you do some shit like that. If you watch the whole
Exactly.
thing and
Watch the whole thing, man.
right,
Yeah.
watch the whole thing and then you complain. But same thing, you see that all the time with some of these people. They never finish a game or they never do this. It's like, yeah, well, you don't have an opinion. Go away.
Yeah.
Whatever.
No, I can
And
understand.
again, I have zero patience for that kind of nonsense. That's why I don't entertain it.
Yeah,
But like they still want to comedy crap now. It's like it's so easy to poke holes in this nonsense now.
exactly.
And by the way, this incredibly childish nonsense. Like it's not for you. You're way too old for this bullshit. Chill out. It's not for you. Go away.
Right.
Anyway,
I
moving.
like how you say that. It's not
Yeah,
for you. Like
yeah,
time has passed. Like
yeah,
look at the span of time between when the show stopped airing, He-Man and Masters of the Universe, to this one here. Like you really expect things to be the same. Now,
yeah,
okay, if you wanna poke holes at the dialogue, like I say, I find the dialogue felt like it's badly written at times. Okay, fine. If you don't like the dialogue, okay, fine. If you have an issue with the animation, if you have an issue with the narrative decisions, okay, fine. But just kind of understand though, this is just the first half of the season.
yeah.
There's been no date release as to when we're gonna get the second half,
Correct.
which is gonna lead to what my last point, and then I'll get to written. But just see how it plays out now. And last thing I want to see now jumping the gun now. I fear now that because of this backlash now, I feel like after that second half is that might be it, I have a
Um,
I have a strong feeling that this might be it for
okay.
the series here,
Okay.
because the fans don't like it anymore. And I mean, Kevin Smith being a huge fanboy as he is, he did it for the fans. He did it for y'all. You know what I mean? But fans not liking my shit. Well, boy, I done. But I gotta see if I could make my Superman Lives script be a reality after.
Again,
But
I have
yeah,
to see it.
I have huge doubts that we'll get a season two by
I have no
honestly.
idea. Again, I don't listen to idiots on the internet because these are the same people who does where does the broke where does go broke go woke crowd and it's like, but the thing make a fucking $1 billion. You talking about? Whatever. I don't get into this. I have to see the ratings, what the actual ratings are, the people who actually making this and understand this stuff from a production standpoint, not bullshitters speculating about things they don't understand. I don't waste my time with that. If your thing and the rating's not high and it don't work out after 2 seasons, I don't listen to idiots on the internet. They'll really have way less power than you think they do, right? Right. All they're good at is really making noise and then what is always call it bombing rating sites, which is a bad sign in
Yeah,
my
and
opinion.
the
That means
worst thing they just do, Dread. Worst thing they just do is like they will literally go. Okay, so case in point, right? Quick example. So one video that I watched, right, before we even met up, was talking about Kevin Smith lied. He's a liar, right? And is some tweet that Kevin Smith posts is like a close up of some shoe, a Puma shoe, a Skeletor special, Puma shoe. And we're all talking about all this hate that you're throwing at me is the same thing that went down with The Boys. That's a TV show, and
okay.
Captain Marvel, right? But look at me still rocking these shoes now, you know what I mean? And how the guy frames it is almost like, well, Kevin Smith don't care about what you think about the show, Can the man still rocking the Pumas, He don't care about what you think because he liked all and he don't care. That's how he frames it as, Dread, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And I almost
what
bought into it. I almost
yeah,
bought into it. But it's
yeah.
like, again, it's just the first half, Dread. Like, see what comes up next year. Don't just look at it like, oh, he don't care about what you think. Fuck that. You know what I mean? He's a fanboy just like y'all. You know what I mean? Just saying. But yeah.
Yeah, again, I stopped listening to these people because I don't think I ever did listen to them because like, wait, this is what you making noise about. Since it's Shira thing, and I thought that Shira thing was just absolutely ridiculous. I just don't listen to these morons again. I just move on from these people. Whatever. They're good for they don't is there's like the poor conversations in a conversation that don't mean anything, and then like to contrive an argument as if they think these weirdo pick me's on the internet. Like, dude, you don't have a life. Go away. Anyway,
Exactly. You're
moving.
bitching and moaning off of
Yeah.
He-Man, yo.
I,
So,
I spent too much time talking about them.
yeah,
The show is fine.
that's what I'm about to say. So,
Yeah, show is
for
fine.
me,
Yeah,
rating wise, I'm gonna give this a light 3.5 out of 5, man. It's worth checking out though.
yeah,
Even if you're not a fan of He-Man like I am, I enjoyed it. It runs for about a couple hours roughly. You know what I mean? So you could just kind of binge through this really quickly though. I like a majority of the calls and the decisions made to progress the story as well. Ever so often, kind of winking at the camera and saying, "Yeah, we know this is silly, but it's He-Man, y'all." You know what I mean? But again, because I am not emotionally invested in the character in the world of He-Man, though, I can't say that all of the emotional moments hit for me, though. And I was imagining that, real diehard fans would have felt the moments now, but because some of them just spending a bunch of time bitching and moaning that we didn't get enough He-Man, it's just like, well, everything else don't matter. So, all right, so guess, I wish I had somebody to come and tell me, no, this is really why this really matters. But no, it's just about He-Man not being in the show, right? According to you, to some of y'all, not all of y'all, right? But I would say, if you really don't care, don't watch it. If you're just hearing too much of this bad hype and you just think that the show is going to be trash, don't watch
Yeah.
it. But I would say, hopefully, when we get the next 5 episodes, just watch the whole thing out at least, or at least up until when
Yeah.
you stop giving a shit before you
I
jump and make a decision. You know what I mean? But
again, Matthew, you're making the assumption that these people care about these conversations because they don't bring
right,
up any points that matter. See, that's the most
right,
important part.
right. Hmm.
That's why I again years now I stopped talking about these people. I stopped caring to engage in people like that. I should say, right? It's a while now. I stopped engaging in people like this because very few of them actually bring up actual talking point statistics. Like it's
Agreed. Yeah,
almost all of them is like that's the problem with this nonsense, and it's not just this, but it's just a general personality problem
yeah.
across the board with that type of person. Just a bunch of I don't know what to call it. I just call them pick right? That's the name. Right? It's just people who have no nothing to do in their life, nothing really going on. They're just kind of weird, not really bringing anything to the discourse. Incredibly parasitic culturally, in my opinion.
Yeah, and remember,
Whatever.
these are the folks who make money off a YouTuber. Unlike
Yeah,
unlike guys like me, but that's another story for
for real.
another day, right? Yeah,
For real.
but last
That's a
thing
different.
though,
That's a more YouTube problem, not a thing
yeah,
problem. It's an
yeah,
engagement problem. Like they really, that's it. They tricked it. It's like it's just good engagement. It's like whatever.
exactly. But last thing last though, as I said before, I really fear for the future of this show going forward. And I'm not talking about the second half because we have to get the second half no matter what. But
Right.
I really at the moment doubt that we will get a season two, right, because of this, backlash, right. But if we're really lucky enough to get a second one, then I just hope that the storytelling keeps its pace, or gets considerably better over time, man. You know what I mean? But for
Right.
now, it's just the first half, so take it or leave it,
Well,
man. Yeah,
it feels very similar to how the first season. Not remember they had the first 4 episodes of Castlevania or something like that.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
they clearly were just kind of jostling itself and trying to make sense of it. And I thought I liked it, but I didn't love it. And I was like, I give it a chance to grow. And that's why it
yeah,
is
and
with
and
He-Man.
it got
And it
better,
got and it got
got
great,
better.
right? It got
Yeah,
great, exactly. That's how I feel about this show because he might have a lot of interesting lore to it that I have almost no working memory for. I just like, oh yeah, that was a thing in He-Man, and oh yeah, the Horde was a thing which they mentioned in this. And it might cross over with She-Ra in some way, shape, or form. We're not sure, but like the old cartoon was just like goofy bullshit, like royal goofy bullshit.
thank
That
you. That's what it was.
yeah,
And
that
people
that that
treated it like if it's the Bible or something. So like, no,
whatever.
don't you take Tila and do that to her. Don't you make
Right?
her walk. No. Come on.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah,
But my
but
point
anyway,
is
last
that
words and written.
yeah. Rating, I want to say about a 7.5 out of 10, maybe an 8 out of 10. It's fine so far. I had a
Right.
lot of problems with the rate, with the pace. That's the main thing. The big
Yeah.
emotional beat, almost none of the big emotional beats felt earned in the way they could have. Like
Yeah.
again, it not so much rushed but hurried. Like it just
Yeah.
moved from point A to point
Yeah.
B.
It doesn't. It takes its weird time to get there, and then when
Right.
it hits, it doesn't hit as much as it should, in my opinion.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And then again, it have a kind of weird. I don't know if it's a plot hole, but it didn't make sense to me. I don't understand how Man at Arms got from point
Or
A to point B. I couldn't
yeah,
follow that
like
at all.
it didn't
Like,
even
where
explain
was
that,
he?
to be honest.
They
Yeah,
didn't
where
explain
was
that at
he?
all.
Yeah.
No, but how he get back there? Like how he
Uh-huh.
get from there to there? Like wasn't like the whole point that the boat break down? Whatever. Moving on.
Whatever.
And
Yeah.
it didn't bother me too much. It's like whatever.
Right.
Anyway, it's fine. It's fine. You know, 7 out of 10. I want to say maybe 8 out of 10 at best. That's about it.
Right. And if I
Right.
could just say one last thing, and no, I'm not gonna repeat, I'm not gonna regurgitate what I said earlier about the fanboys and the heat and all that kind of stuff, right? Um, Look, like to be honest though, I am not the biggest fan when it comes to like these ETs. Well, I should say revival of like old properties and all that kind of stuff, right? But for me, it's like if you told me 10 years ago that we were going to get a new He-Man show, I'd just been like,
Yeah.
why? You know what I mean?
No, I,
But we
I,
have
I
it. We have it now. So it's like, okay, this looks good. This looks really good, like shockingly good. And this is coming from somebody who's now 500. But I feel like for some people, like they just treat these properties like the goal now. So the second somebody say, oh, I'm gonna do a remake of this, or I'm gonna do, a sequel to that. You know what I mean? It's gonna be on
Right.
Netflix and you can watch it. People just kind of lose their collective shits and just be like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, my life, my childhood, and then when it doesn't play out the way it does, like, oh, you ruined and raped my childhood, why? That kind of stuff. It's happened since, like, I don't know, the dawn of time, Jay. Like, come on, like, honestly, y'all can't watch me and tell me, or leave a comment and tell me, oh, y'all expected Revolution to play out the way how it was with the old show, like the stuff that what all they love, the stuff that they love the old show in the first place. Oh, it's not here, but why? It has to be that way because there's the emotional attachment involved. But I mean, come on, it's time passed, man. I mean, deal with it. Let's see.
Right. Well,